Gentleman you just heard was another discovery of Ray. He's the John Singer Sargent of the Loma Linda University. His artistic ability has been unknown until discovered by Dr. Herbert. I heard a voice behind me calling my name. It was several years ago. I had been out of this state most of my adult life, and I'd come home to Southern California, and I was just leaving the Sabbath school, which at that time was held in the lower floor of the library on the campus. All the faces were strange to me. I didn't know anybody. And here was somebody calling my name as I was leaving. I turned around and I saw a smiling face. And he says, with his hand out, "Hello, Warren. I'm Ray Herbert." And that took a smile from me, because I had heard that name over and over and over again from my physician brother, who had spotted this young doctor who is the best in his class for the entire 4 years of the School of Medicine. I had heard the name of Ray Herbert. I felt like I knew him, so I smiled, but I really didn't know him. The next few years, I had the pleasure and the good fortune of really meeting Dr. Herbert. He was a people person. I saw that with his family. Early on, I learned never to call Ray in the morning. That was family time. That was special time. The time to talk to him was in the afternoon. I learned also that Ray Herbert never saw a dollar bill he didn't want to give to the church or to the School of Medicine. The organ in this church, he told me one time, he funded the endowment that keeps that organ tuned. You've heard wonderful stories about a truly great man. And he was great because he was good. There's no such thing as greatness without goodness. The resume of Ray Herbert has been written for a long time. You can read about it in Galatians 5 or Colossians 3. And it goes something like this: love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, self-control, compassion, on and on and on. Those are the words describing a man whose life was the sermon. Paul was making the point, and this is the one thing I really want to emphasize. Paul was making the point that true religion is not a form of godliness. True religion requires it coming from the inside. Keeping the commandments is not a ritual. Keeping the commandments is the power of God accepted into your life, in which everything you say and do, you are growing in grace, reflecting the image of God. When I finally recognized this was the man I was dealing with, I told Wes, Ray is pure gold. I didn't mean money. I meant character. So I wrote a letter to Ray. And I told him about my assessment. I've had the privilege of traveling this world, and I've met scores and scores and scores of wonderful Christian people who also fit that resume that Paul the Apostle wrote. People who kept the commandments of God and were faithful to Jesus. I told Ray in that letter that I ranked him right up there with the best that I had met. And then I told him, knowing how humble he was, I said, Ray, I want you to read this letter to your family. He called me after he got the letter, and he said, thank you. And I said, do you promise you'll read it to your family? And he kind of chuckled. He said, yes. Now, I've never asked the family if you ever heard the letter. Steve said, yes, thank you. It was true. It was from the heart. On August 20 of this year, I received a telephone call from Ray. He was telling me that he had received a report from the laboratory that was negative and that his time was limited. He was not whining, he was not crying, he was matter of fact. I said to him, Ray, you know, we talked a little bit about the God, the family of God that we both belong to. I said, Ray, how would it be if sometime in the next few days I drop by, we can both wear our masks, and maybe we could sit on that little slab of cement where you have two chairs just outside your back door and visit. And he, of course, said yes. That day never came. Before we said goodbye, I told him, I said, Ray, I'm going to tell you what I would say to my brother. I love you, man. I loved him. Last month, in the National Military Cemetery in Riverside, I attended an incredible service. I heard a physician who had been mentored by Ray, who had earned his star as a general of the United States Army, pay tribute. I heard a son-in-law who is on the pastoral staff of this church pay respect from the heart. I heard 3 United States Marines in the uniforms so special to our United States Marines raise their guns and give a 3-gun salute to the memory of this naval officer of the United States military. And then I heard taps. Perfect, beautiful trumpet by another Marine. Ray didn't hear any of that. He didn't hear the trumpet. He didn't hear the trumpet play taps. But it reminded me of a trumpet that he will hear. When Ray and I were kids, and that was a long time ago, there was a song that we learned in church that we sang so often that we couldn't help but remember the words years later. when the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more. And the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. All the saved of earth shall gather over on that other shore. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Ray will hear that trumpet. He'll be there with a multitude of other wonderful Christian people who obeyed the commandments of God by living their lives of faith and dedication to God, to their church, to their country, to their families, to all people throughout the world. It will be a grand reunion. Ray will be there. He'll be looking for me. He'll be looking for you.